Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Okay, and we are live with another fun episode of My First Commission Unlocking Real Estate here with John Hodorovych. And John, can you just introduce yourself a little bit? How would you describe yourself to other folks in this real estate profession? Maybe where you're coming at us from, how long you've been licensed, any fun facts, what drew you to this, however you'd like to introduce yourself, please, Joho.
Yeah, first off, thank you, Spencer. Thank you, Colibri, for doing this. Appreciate it. John Hodorovych. I got Joho from 13 years in radio. I was sitting in an office and typing back and forth to some people, and there was two Johns on it. So he stayed John, I became Joho. That's how that was. But, licensed in real estate since 2023. I joined Keller Williams Metropolitan in the summer of 23. And I'm living here in Morris County, New Jersey with my wife of 15. We've been together 15, married 8. Yeah, I want to get those numbers right. I have to get those numbers right. But yeah, real estate's been fun. Going back to the radio thing, and it's been quite the transition.
And when you were getting your license and starting, were you still in the radio world? Did you go all in? How did you approach kind of transitioning from one to the other, doing both? How did you think about that?
I always thought I was going to have a career in radio. That was the dream job, and it didn't turn out that way. I had to leave. I was part of the Great Resignation in 2021. Radio was taking a turn. For those that keep track, the company that I worked for took a page out of the Clear Channel and just kind of started, doing different things and cutting people. And we were seeing writings on the wall. I was seeing writings on the wall as far as salary was going. So I left and I went over to the television side. I went over to a rental house for about 18 months. That was it was basically a fraternity that was renting out television equipment, cameras, lights, everything else. But right after that, I had left that and I was like, you know what? I need to be my own boss. That's why I got into one of the reasons I got into real estate. And I was like, I need to focus on it. I need it to be all on me, because that's what real estate is. It is all on you. So that was one of the things that really appealed to me. That's how I was like, okay, it's time to be my own boss. Spent 13 years in corporate radio, started working for the little guy in television, and it wasn't working. So I was like, okay, what's the next step?
Yep. And, you can be your own boss in a few different avenues, right? There's a couple different things you could do. So why real estate? What attracted you to real estate specifically as the place where you said, that's where I'm going to go to be my own boss and set my schedule and have it all be on me?
Obviously we all know a realtor at some point or another in our lives, but that lifestyle kind of appealed to me. But at the same time, radio and real estate, are not so different from one another. Here's what I mean with that. In real estate, you are the producer of that transaction. You're putting it all together, just like you put together a radio show in the morning, or a radio show on Sundays, or if you're producing an event in that format. You are producing a real estate transaction. You are bringing the title company, you're bringing the inspector, you're bringing the appraisal, you're bringing the buyer, you're bringing everything to get this show. And that's what I was like, okay, this is something I can do, because I did it for 13 years. So that was hugely appealing to me.
Perfect. And can you share a little bit about, we'll get into that first closing, that first year, some transactions, some numbers, all that kind of good stuff, where you found success. But first, how'd you approach getting your license? Like, Did you go to an on-site school? Did you take it online? Like, how did you approach the actual part of getting your license?
Yeah. So I knew a couple of realtors, like I said. One of them, a fraternity brother, and I asked him, how did you do it? And he's like, oh, I went to New Jersey Business School. Okay, cool. I started looking at that, and I was like, nah. And then doing some research, I found what you guys were initially, Real Estate Express. And then I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. And then I found out that one of your instructors, Victoria Scalzo, was the mother of a very close friend of mine, another fraternity brother. So I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. And it turns out that she ended up being my instructor. So I was like, all right, this is great. So I had some time off. So I did the crash course. I did it in 10 days, 10 business days. Yeah, I did it online, and Victoria is phenomenal. So yeah, doing that, it's a lot because it was 10 days, 8 hours, 9 to 5, and I still have the book, I still have the textbook. You're in it, you're flipping through it, and yeah, so that's how I got there.
Perfect. And then, so you get your license, and can you share a little bit about, you got some real estate friends, it sounds like. You got Victoria now to help maybe advise, ask some questions too. How did you approach, where do you go work? How did you approach that? Like how many people did you interview? Like, can you share a little bit more about your approach of where to decide to go actually put this license to practice? What firm did you choose and why?
Well, the short answer to that is Keller Williams Metropolitan. But I fully expected to, maybe join Century 21, maybe go to Weichert. Weichert was right down the street from me. Big, massive complex over in Morris Plains, which I think are selling now, but I digress. So I wanted to interview a couple different brokerages, but a buddy of mine from the radio side. So he went from radio up here to radio down in the Carolinas, got his real estate license down there. He's like, no, I'm over at Keller Williams. Okay. Is there a Keller office around here? Yeah. There's Keller Williams Metropolitan right in Morristown. It's 5 minutes from my house. So I was like, okay, I'll take a look over there. And walking into that Keller Williams office, the culture of Keller Williams is nothing like I have ever seen before. Yes, we're all independent contractors. Yes, we're all real estate agents competing for buyers and listings. But the support that you get, not just from the broker, but from the other agents in that office, is phenomenal. I was blown away when I first initially saw that, because I really didn't have, I had a lot of support in my radio studio, but to be in that Keller Williams culture was I felt supported, and that was huge for me, because I didn't have that for quite some time. So to go over the Keller, and I after that interview, I didn't interview anywhere else. I feel like I didn't need to. So
what did you see that was so impactful, or what questions did you have of what you were looking for that they answered yes, 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 yes? You can have that here. You can have that here. You can have that here. What left you with such an impression? Again, teamwork aspect, camaraderie, but again, were there specific things that you were asking of them that you were looking for, that when they said yes, you're just like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to go anywhere else. What happened there?
It was a conversation initially with the CEO, Alicia. And then seeing that they had a lot of different educational classes to go through. And recently, obviously, we all remember that the lawsuit back in August that kind of changed the whole real estate landscape. Our office was at least 6 months ahead of those conversations of what buyer's agreements was going to be. So when the other brokerages and other agents were like, oh, it's just business as usual. No, we were so far ahead of that. And when I got there, I was starting to go to a class called Ignite, and it's just, it's a kind of bunch of different courses over a few different weeks. How to talk to your database. What's your database? How do you talk to them? DT2, do the database too. Golden letters, stuff like that. And then just the type of people that were in that office, coupled with the additional education, because it's a whole different career that I was coming into. So I really didn't know anything. So having that foundation to go in there and have that additional education was huge.
Yeah, perfect. And now a little chronology, a little timeline, dates. Can you paint us a little bit of a picture of, again, it's mid 2023 when you are going to get your license. You get it fast. I assume, can you paint us a little bit of a picture of like, all right, what happened next? Like when from getting your license, approximately a month in 2023, when did that happen? When did you join Keller Williams? And then how long did it take before you had your first closing?
Yeah. So June 2nd, 2023, I joined Keller Williams. I signed on. It was probably about a month after I had taken the state test. And that was a beast in and of itself for a number of different reasons. But it took a bit of time. I'm the kind of guy who's like, if I don't know everything, I don't want to look foolish. I don't want to look like a moron. So I kept going to classes and doing different things. And finally, I ended up joining a team. And they were great. So my first deal probably came January, February of 2024. And it was off of someone on the team. She had gone away for a few weeks. And she goes, I got this listing in Fairlawn. Perfect. I know Fairlawn. I grew up in Clifton. So for me, Fairlawn's it's right over the bridge. Okay. Yeah, it was nice multifamily. An investor owned it. And he was taking care of it for his father. So I was like, okay, can you do these open houses? Can you do this? Yeah, sure. No problem. Piece of cake. And someone had come through and was like, oh, I want to see this. Young guy in his 20s. And I still talk to him and his mother. Him and his mother are fantastic because we went through quite a bit to get to this. And I show him the house, and there's a tenant still living upstairs. And here in New Jersey, it's a very, very tenant-friendly state. So when you're selling a property, obviously the tenant gets a little scared. Is the new owner going to kick me out? And we made sure that right off the bat he wasn't, because obviously there's different things you can do as a landlord, and you can raise the rent 4% or based off the consumer index, the consumer price index, whichever's I think higher. And we put an offer in. I think we had this listed at maybe $650. We came in right around that. And the second showing, I remember it was a rainy, miserable night. And we're going through, and I grab his mother's phone, and it's the lender on the other end. And I said, look, this is a rental property, because I remember we're going through he was pre-approved, which is great. First step in real estate, get your pre-approval. But that's a different conversation.
Know what kind of budget you're working with, and then be able to move fast because it's already pre-approved. Yes.
Exactly. So I pick up the phone and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, this is a rental property, which means he's going to have income. He's going to have revenue. So can you take that revenue? And I'm talking to the lender, or what I thought was the lender. It was actually a mortgage broker, which is not the same thing. So I'm talking to him and I go, can you use this rental income to help him with the mortgage? You should be able to put it up there at a 70-ish%. And he thinks about it, and he pulls up his laptop and he goes, that messes up my numbers. That was my reaction too. I'm on the phone, and I remember I'm standing in the driveway rain, I'm wet, I'm kind of cranky now after what he just said. I'm like, this is not about your numbers. This is about our client buying this property. What are you doing? Are you trying to screw up this deal? So being on the team that I was at the time, I initially got in touch with the listing agent and I said, look, this is what this guy's doing. And she goes, well, go talk to one of this other lenders. Okay, cool. And it took a bit of time for me to convince this buyer to go talk to another lender. This time, a legitimate lender, not a bank.
And real quick, do you know the background of like, where did that mortgage broker come from? Is that someone that he knew? Is that someone you knew? Is this a random person he found on the internet? Why I bring this up is because of the importance of, pre-vetted relationships, right? Especially as a new agent, you might not know who to go through. Like that's where you can lean on that team of who you're working with of,
exactly.
Hey, this might be my first deal. Like, who is a great person who can deal with potentially rental income lending relationships? Who do you know who has done this exact same thing before? Which that's the power of the network and the team, is you can kind of go try to vet those kind of things. So I'm curious, where did this particular mortgage broker come from?
From my understanding, he just found him on the internet. He did some searching, found this guy. I was like, oh,
yep.
Can we do this? Okay, cool.
Yep.
So he, maybe a week later, because we were flat out told, I was told by the listing agent and by the investor, the owner, if you're going to continue with this guy, we're not going to work with you. Okay. Alex, I need you. And I even got in touch with his mother. Kathy, if Alex wants this property, and I knew why he wanted the property. He wanted it because he wanted to take care of some taxes. So I was like, okay, great. This is you're in your mid-20s and you're already thinking like this. This is huge. So yeah, we need to get you in here. If we're going to continue with this guy, they're not going to work with us, which means you're not getting the property. So I need you to go talk to this guy. I need you to go talk to Greg. So we did. And we eventually got the property. But during that process, it was another late night. I think that was a rainy one too. I was up in Rockaway, New Jersey. I was puppy sitting for a friend of mine and a person I work with formerly at the radio station. And I get a phone call from my buyer. And this is after he had decided to go work with a new lender. Hey, by the way, because there had been some changes with numbers and things. By the way, that mortgage broker just ran my credit again. I hit the roof. I absolutely hit the roof, because now I'm thinking soft pull, hard pull. If it was a soft pull, okay, fine, maybe a couple points. But if it's a hard pull, now we're talking probably closer to 7 points. That's going to screw up his credit, which means that new lender is going to see that, and it might have just screwed him out of getting this property. Fortunately, it didn't, but there were some things that it got a little dicey between him saying, hey, that messes up my numbers, and then you're about to mess up my client's credit by doing a pull that he never gave you permission to do. That was the other thing. So when I fortunately in our Keller office, we have 3 lenders in our office. I can walk into the office and go, hey, Joe, Maria, Peter, Manny, someone, what can we do? So we have 3 different credits, 3 different lenders. So I started texting some of them after I heard about that. Is this an ethics thing? What can we do? Is there anything that we can do to help here, just in case something goes really, really south? And I had to call the lender that we just started working with. I was like, Greg, I think this just happened. Can you check? Is there anything you can do? But we eventually got the house. It was FHA. So there was a couple of things that had to get done. Obviously, I don't want to get too into the weeds with FHA, but it doesn't have the negative connotation that everyone seemed to think it does. But yeah, that was rough for my first one. But it was a multifamily, which an investor and a young kid, and then going through, not even a young kid, he was in his 20s. I could call him a young kid. And then going through that thing with the mortgage broker, and like this is how you're going to treat a buyer. This is how you're going to treat a client. So now I have to be the guy protecting him. Like, what? No, we're supposed to help him and protect him ourselves, not me protect him from you. So that was quite the eye opener for my first deal.
Yeah. And the importance of, again, pre-vetted relationships and positive recommendations and some probing questions of like, well, hey, how did you find this mortgage lender? Have you worked with him before? Do you know he's good? Because I got 3 people in my office who I know are fantastic. They did 27 deals with us, like, or whatever it is, right? Like,
exactly.
There's some questions there that you can prep up to ask for next time. I am curious because you said you joined that Keller Williams office in June, July-ish of 23. This first deal closed January-ish of 24, 6 months. Can you share a little bit about that 6 months of, you mentioned, hey, I'm the type of person who I want to go get my information and make sure I really know what I'm doing. Like, so I don't look foolish or whatever it is. Right. So can you share a little bit of your approach in that first 6 months of, were you just content to just kind of like, I'm in learning mode? Like, I don't need a deal in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Were you freaking out a little bit? Like, I thought I'd have a deal by now. Like, can you put us in the mindset of, say, month number 4? Maybe it's October and you still don't have a deal yet. Like, what's going through your mind? What are you thinking? Like, can you, what advice might you share for others who might be 4 months in, there's no deals yet, of how they should potentially be thinking about this in a world where, like you said, it's all on you. So if you don't have any deals, you don't have income. So can you share a little bit about what was your mindset and then what advice you might give to others who might be in a similar spot?
I was fortunate enough to have a bit of a financial safety net, but that's not for everybody. You're supposed to have 6 months stashed away, but yeah, I was pretty much in learning mode. And even when I was in radio and thought I knew everything, I tried to have the mentality of, if you don't learn something new every single day, it feels like you wasted the day. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to have a bit of a safety net financially, and just have those great people around me to go, hey, can I shadow you to host an open house? Because that's huge, especially as a younger agent. If your office, if that broker's office doesn't have agents that will allow you to shadow them, you might be in the wrong office, I think. So that was kind of my mentality of, I'm going to go learn from the people who've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years that are in this office. And I did that. I shadowed a few open houses, went to class as much as I possibly could. That was that 6 months.
Yeah,
that time frame.
And then can you share a little bit now, like, let's brag about yourself a little bit. What's the hook here? So you're licensed in mid 23, joined Keller in summer 23, first deal January 24. Can you share a little bit about the full year 2024? You got your first deal in January, that full year. How many closings, total dollar transactions? What can you share there, either full year 24 or 2025, since we're almost there through the full year? Like, what can you share about sales, number of closing, total dollar sales so far for 24, 25?
25 hasn't been the second year that I wanted it to be. But I have another rough deal going on right now. We're trying to get it closed. So for those agents that are watching this, or even someone who's not an agent, if a lender says, get me the paperwork that I need, do it in a timely manner. Don't drag your feet. I understand everyone else has work. That's fine. But this is a quick pace business. So that's huge. But for me, 2024 was pretty fun. That first deal, it almost feels like my forte is saving deals, because I had to save the first one, obviously. And then there was another one in August to October of 24 that I had to save. And this was my big one. This was the $1 million one over in Mountain Lakes. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, half an acre, and it was right. The house is gorgeous. So if you're not familiar with New Jersey or that area, Mountain Lakes has some really, really good schools. This is the place you want to be. And there's really no house in that town that sells for under 1.1, 1.2, except for this one that I was working on because Hapgood bought that land and built 500 houses. And I had the listing for the team. And I did another open house with the team and I brought the buyer in. They had it listed at 1.05, 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. And out of those 500 houses, this was number 383. So there was some historical value to this house too. But it needed a lot of work. We were telling people somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 worth of work. So after I do first or second open house of the weekend, I get a phone call on Monday. Hey, can we put an offer in? Yeah, absolutely. What do you want to do? Can we do 950? Okay, yeah, sure. We can, let's do 950. And they countered at 985. All right, what do you think? Can we, meet them in the middle, 965. Cool, 965. They accept 965, and then we do the inspections. And the inspections came back a little rougher than we thought. So my buyer comes back and says, I'm not doing it for anything less than 940. Well, now we're really off because now we're not even at our first offer.
Yep.
So I think I had probably a 20-minute conversation with him. I don't like having those conversations in the office. So what I'll do is I'll go out to the elevators because then everybody in every business can hear me try to save these deals because we have a few other businesses in the complex. So I said, can we go to 950? Can we get back up to our original offer at 950? And I knew at that point, first off, the listing was as is. So we were already asking too much. And secondly, by the time inspections come up, that's not the time to renegotiate. That's not the time to renegotiate price. You might ask for a couple concessions at the tail end of things, but that's not the time to go, hey, I don't want to pay an extra $15,000, $20,000. But I eventually got that one saved. We eventually got it down back to the 950. And that was another rough one because obviously that was my biggest one to date. And I was like, I'm going to lose this one. But I was fortunate enough to save it.
Yep. And again, for with that one that you saved in kind of late 2024, can you share a little bit about any stats? And again, number of closings in total, whatever it might be for 24. Sounds like you said that was a fun year. So
yeah.
What can you share about the macro stats for that year?
Macro stats, including a couple rentals. I think I had about 7 closings.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So, like I said, 2025's not shaping up the year that I want it to be. But this is a very interesting market. And we all have our highs and lows. It just, the low for me is probably the second year, but, 2026 is, I'd set a goal for myself that I wanted to start making $100K in gross commission by my third year. So we're coming up to the third year.
Yeah. And can you share a little bit now, 2 years in, right, of like, what are some things that seem to be working and what are some things that in 2026 you want to do more of or less of to try to get closer to that goal that you set out for yourself? So what you've got a foundation now for 2 years, right? You're not coming in fresh anymore. So can you share a little bit more about what's your approach going into 26? What are you going to do more of? What are you going to do less of and why?
I want to do more AI. And I know that that's probably low hanging fruit because, that's what everyone's doing, but that's the way the world is going. Everyone is on their phones. And to be perfectly honest with you, there are, I'm one of those agents that doesn't like cold calling. It's not 1989 anymore. But that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's not part of my lead gen. But there's others that are very, very successful with it. More AI, being out in the community more. I do better face to face. It's what I've always done, and it goes back to my radio roots of doing events. And as a matter of fact, that's the one deal that I've got now. It's with a former radio listener of mine. It's get out in the community. That's what I want to do more. I want to do more AI, get more on social media, start the YouTube page.
And specifically, can you share a little bit more about getting out in the community? What are some things that you're going to do more of? Events, sponsoring something here or there, like getting a group together on Facebook and getting somebody what are some of the things that maybe you've tried that you want to do more of, or some things that you're anticipating trying going into 2026?
I do quite a bit of charity work with a couple of the other organizations that I'm in. So one of my big organizations is one of my big charities is animals, dogs. So I want to spend a little more time with that and getting those people getting to know me. I have a couple friends who do their own events-based stuff. So I have worked with someone who has set up farmers markets, stuff like that. So and we talk about doing client appreciation events, happy hours, stuff like that. There was one event that it unfortunately didn't take traction this year, but I wanted to do a gentleman's night. Because guys, we don't get pampered the way sometimes ladies do. So I wanted to have a night where the barber that I use here in Whippany, Hammer and Nails, it's where guys can go get their beards cut, their hair cut. Obviously, I have to take a run over there, but bring them in, bring in a local brewery or a local distillery, bring in a cigar shop, whether it's Casa de Monte Cristo down the street from me or someone smaller, just things like that in that nature.
And on those 7 closings last year, can you share a little bit about where those leads come from? What was working for you? Like where did some of that stuff come from? It doesn't sound like cold calling. Maybe some of them came from your charitable work. Like where did some of those leads come from that actually ended up closing? Like what was working for you? What was rocking?
Open houses. That's the short answer. Open houses, whether they were, a lot of them were team based. For a newer agent, if you're able to, I recommend joining a team. Doesn't have to be a permanent thing in your career, but just to get the foundation, because that's one of those big things where you're a newer agent like I was, so you learn the ropes. You learn what to do. You learn what not to do. Sometimes is just as valuable, if not more valuable. And even if you're a solo agent, that's fine too. Like I said, if there's not an agent who won't allow you to shadow open houses, that's fine. But that was my biggest success last year was doing open houses.
Yeah, perfect. I've heard that from so many people.
Yeah.
Right. Because a quote I've heard, and I'm curious to get your take on this. What I've heard other agents say is, I am always amazed how many people will go to an open house who are not working with an agent yet. So there are plenty of opportunities to go get buyer side clients because they want to go check out this house and they don't have any representation yet. They're not working with anybody yet. They just saw the sign out and they want to go check it out. I've heard that said from many people. It always amazes me how many people are attending an open house who just aren't working with an agent yet.
Yeah. That's the thing, people want to shop around, and that's fine. They think, from my experience, they think that going straight to the listing agent will get them the best deal. That's not entirely the case, because that listing agent, that seller's agent, has a contract, has fiduciary responsibilities to the seller. They don't have it to you. So that's all well and good. You think you're going to get the deal. You're not. They're not loyal to you at all, because when you start doing something, I'm going to get into the weeds of agency real quick. If you obviously can't serve two masters. So if I'm dual agent, I can only say a couple different things to each one of you, but you lose loyalty, you lose disclosure, right? and you keep the other six. Old car, CAR. So you lose a couple of those as a dual agent, and I don't want to really do that. So that's if you're coming in and you're unrepresented, that's fine. I'll work with you, but just know that I can't be loyal to two people at once.
Yep, understood. A couple more just quick hitter questions as we get close to wrapping up here. Any specific trainings, classes, et cetera, that you did at Keller Williams, elsewhere, et cetera, that were or again, shadowing people at open houses? Like what was most impactful training for you? What was something that you'd recommend for other new agents out there to learn from? Any specific trainings, courses, or just generally just go to as many open houses as you can and shadow? Like what would be the number one piece of advice that was really helpful for you to give to others?
One of the things is, and I'm going to plug the book now, Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That was one of the things that's helped. I'm now in performance coaching. So we have two sets of coaching, Rockstar coaching. Those are, 0 to 4 million agents, and you graduate out of that, after 3 deals. So the performance coaching has helped me immensely because it's starting to get me to do things and think of this as a legitimate business. And I really want to think like that, but my ADHD brain doesn't allow me to at times. So having all the different sheets and documents of, breaking down the economic model. Okay, I want to make this much money. Let's just say $100,000 in GCI. Okay, well that means breaking down the Excel sheet. How many listings is that going to be? How many buyers is that going to be? And how many total closings is that going to be? So that has been absolutely invaluable to me. Just huge. Get as many courses as you can. Obviously, we have to continue our CEs, our continuing education, for every 2 years or so. I just had a random one based off of a title company the other day. Land surveys, defining real estate, which they gave a great example here in Jersey of why it's so important to grab a survey from the buyer's perspective. So, like I mentioned earlier, if you're not learning something new every single day, at least one thing that's new every single day, you might have wasted the day.
On that note, can you share what's the 1-minute version of how did you spend your time yesterday? What did you do? How much time did you spend on lead gen or follow up or whatever it may be? What was the day in the life yesterday? A very, very quick high level view.
This deal has taken up quite a bit of my time. That's going on right now, but you really have to just. I got a prospecting spreadsheet, and my performance coach kind of gives us, little scripts that she wants us to do. So send out 10, 15 texts or so. Hey, this is what the market's doing. Do you want me to dive a little bit deeper into that? I can send you, a market snapshot, based off of that. And, you send out 15, 2 or 3 responses. That's always a self-esteem pick me up. But yeah, that was part of it. And then obviously, seeing what the market's doing. Because I try to focus more here in Morris County, Passaic County, New Jersey. Seeing what the market's doing, going over inventory. I have a couple buyers where we kind of lost something because they're looking into the commercial side. I definitely wanted to dive a little more into commercial real estate as well. So they have a landscaping business, but they were looking to purchase a residential property to store their landscaping trailers and trucks, and obviously the township won't allow that. So now you've got to pivot. Okay, let's try this, and it's a numbers game. Reach out to your database, reach out to your sphere of influence. That's really what I was doing yesterday.
Yep. And then last question, anything we didn't have a chance to talk about that you want to share as kind of final words of wisdom to others, or even yourself, right? 2 years into this journey, any new or maybe repeated words of wisdom? Because maybe there's something there that you want to, that you already said, but it's just so darn important. We got to say it twice.
I'm starting to understand and redefine my success. What is success? And each person's definition of it is different. Over the weekend, my wife and I went up to Connecticut to spend time with our nephew and goddaughter. Our goddaughter was born literally on the day we got married. So I'm trying to redefine what success is for me. And it's not 50 closings. It's not, 10 million in the bank. It's having the freedom to go, hey, let's go take a drive. Let's go see our goddaughter. Let's go see our nephew. I want to leave a legacy. That's always been my thing. Even when I got into radio, I want to leave some kind of legacy. So something that we haven't talked about, and that's completely on real estate related, is I'm a Freemason on top of that. And a lot of people don't, there's some negative connotations with that, but we're not what a lot of people think we are. We do a lot of charity work. And I want to leave a legacy through that as well. A good one. So that's been something that I've been trying to focus on a lot more through real estate, because real estate, it's not a job. It's not a career. It's the vehicle that you get to leave a legacy through.
Good deal. Well, John, kudos to a successful, and however you define that, what you just shared, 2026. Thanks again so much for sharing your story. Appreciate you.
Spencer, thank you. I appreciate your time. This was fun. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.